So, I mean, this is like watching paint dry, I'm sure, but I need to do it nonetheless. So, imagine what you're thinking right now is how did a guy like me end up with being able to put the hands on a 3/32 Allen wrench to take the bearing off the router bit? And the answer to that is really simple. I was working on a new machine and I bought a new set of Allen wrenches, and it hasn't been long enough for me to have lost them all yet. And so I actually could find it. What a nice treat. A year from now they'll be lost somewhere. So this is simple. I'm just going after that fillet. Fillet, not fillet, because we're in New England, but fillet, a little square notch on the edge of the molding, or where two pieces of wood join. Fillet. Unlike a full round bead, where you have what's called a quirk. These are fillets, not quirks. All very cool stuff. Funny shadow I'm getting from this one. It's nothing to do with me. It's just the color. Alright, for this, it's about set. So now it's time to break this in half and get at those dividers that I put in. And get them cleared away. I'm worried that when I go to bang them out, I will cause them to hinge, take up more space, and crack this thing. So I'm thinking I may end up running this thing over the table saw to cut a saw curve out of the middle of those pieces and give them some relief so that they'll bend out of the way and not crack this thing. I don't know if I'm going to do that before I crack it or wait till I crack it and then do it. I wish I had done it earlier. Yeah. Never know. Alright, so over the table saw, cut this in half. Zing, like that. Let's do that. Here we go. About halfway. All right. That happened. Let's go see what happens next. See if we can get those pieces out. One of them cracked already. Alright, here we have that. So these things are, that one's out, that one's out, that one's out. Look at this, they're all going to pop right out. Even that one. Oh, this is great. Flip it around. Means at least I don't have to break this thing to get these. Alright, that's terrific. Just terrific. Now, I've done something I knew, and I have to fix it. Cutting this thing exactly in half, it didn't happen. So, I'm going to have to take this back to the saw, and now that those pieces are out, I'll feel much more comfortable. I'll set the blade up about, 3/8 of an inch, and I'll run these things through to get them the same size. Actually, wow, I could run these through the planer. And that would size them both and smooth the edges all at the same time. Let's do that. Let's do that. Terrific. Let's go plane them. I love this, making it up as I go. It's great. Cool. So you saw I put these on a plank. I've got a nice flat smooth plank. It's about 4.5 feet long, and I use it when I'm running pieces that are a little bit short and that I don't want snipe on, that the starting and ending thing. It helps support the pieces across the rollers better than the pieces by themselves. I also use it on short pieces to make them safer. Anyway, I did that, and now I have this thing all set up. These things are great. They're great. They're going to be great. They're going to be just perfect for what I'm doing. You can see how they're going to produce this frame. Miter these corners together. It'll be a nice shadow for the painting. The painting's going to live inside of this, like that. The painting's quite thick. It's on a thick frame, so it's going to live inside this thing. This will have a nice shadow right around the edge of it. So it's all going to work out. All right, so now I think what makes the most sense is to get my first coat of shellac. My first coat of shellac on this thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shellac these, and then I'm going to, because they already got some blue stain in them. This is what it's all about. It's this discolored pieces of wood that I've produced. These half 2x4s of discolored wood, 2x3s. So I want to seal these with the first coat of shellac, so I can sand them. They'll become very smooth. And then I'm going to put probably 2 coats of tinted shellac and then a coat of tung oil varnish on top of them. I'm going to tint the shellac into the red. So these are going to come out kind of unnaturally red. Unnaturally red. Not making it look like red oak. I'm going for carnival red. Hopefully the black will come through. I'm going to do this on the shellac. This is staining on top of on top of the wood, not in the wood. I'm not going to have it penetrate at all. It's going to set on top of the shellac. That's going to allow me the most uniform coloring, because as much as I want these dark areas, I don't want them to get involved in the red. I don't want them to soak up more red, or worse still, not soak up red. Oh my God, that would be awful. So, first coat of shellac, I'm going to use some blonde shellac. What do they call it? Bleached shellac, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to do that, and that will put me in a position where I can sand these things down and then glue them together. That'll mean that the glue, if I get excess glue on them, I won't stain the wood because it'll be on top of the shellac. And I'll have these things glued together into the frame, and then I'll do the red part of it as this thing is together as a frame. You can't, obviously the inside edges, it's going to be harder to sand smoothly once it's together in a frame. So the first coat of shellac, and then what we'll call the final sanding. I mean, I'm going to slightly sand in between coats, but it's going to be small amounts. Anyway, so let's do the shellac, set these aside, come back tomorrow, and you're going to be free tomorrow? Yeah, me too. So we'll be able to deal with it then. Be great. Let's go do that. I'm kind of excited. Considering how this went, and that whole hissy fit thing that I pulled yesterday, and I apologize for how far that went, how far I let that get. But I'm back, and I'm going to be good. You understand, the whole point of that fit yesterday was, if these things are misshapen, when I go to miter them together, it's going to make it virtually impossible to get the miters right. So this idea of these things being slightly twisted was just killing me, because I could look forward to what's going to happen to the miters, and I was going to hate it. As it stands right now, I still have some things to battle with. These, because of this is distorted wood and whatnot, and it's been worked and reworked. There's still some shaping issues involved here. These boxes have kind of sprung a little bit. They close well, so I'm hoping that in the process of mitering these things and clamping them together, that these things will close well. My bailout, which I hope I don't have to do, my bailout is to cut these things, get the miters set, pretty nearly cut to size, and then put filler blocks of pine inside these things so that I can miter these together on these filler blocks, and I can use those filler blocks to clamp these things into a final shape that will miter together. I'm hoping that I can just miter these things and have all of these features come together. That's what I'm hoping. It would make the slickest lightweight frame that I've ever made. And that's what I'm shooting for right now. So I know you're pulling for me. Let's get some shellac on these things and move the problem down the road. All right, so shellac, blonde shellac, bleached shellac. They call this clear, transparent, whatever that means. Anyway. I have to be a little bit careful and brush these beads out because, it could puddle. Not that that's the end of the world, but why do it if you don't have to? So while it's still wet, I'm just, run a dry brush across them. I know that that there's a whole industry built around staining pieces of wood to a particular color. But to me, it doesn't make any sense to try to stain a piece of wood if you can't control the absorption of the stain. And I guess, if you're really clever, you can wipe it on and wipe off enough. But to me, it seems like the simplest way to approach it is to just seal the wood ahead of time and put your stain on top of it. The idea that the stain has to penetrate somehow into the wood to be good or whatever is silliness. It's silliness. Here we go. Because what we're doing, what stain mostly is doing is mimicking the natural effects of aging. Ozone, ultraviolet light on the fibers of the wood, the tannins in the wood, different woods color up in different environments. And some of it's quite pleasing. But there's no loss of integrity or coloration potential by staining a piece of raw wood. It's just a simpler way of doing things. You slap some stain on. My dad, in his day, used to use a sealing stain, which was, I guess, a small amount of varnish that was tinted, and he could stain pieces of wood and get a good uniform color or a reasonably uniform color, because the varnish in the stain kept it from penetrating too much and made the penetration of it of the stain color more uniform in the piece of wood, so he didn't have blotchiness. Because I've spent a lot of my time working on things made of pine, as this is, and pine is a soft and fairly porous wood, and different parts of the pine, the heartwood, winter growth, and sapwood, all take stain differently. And the grain, summer growth and winter growth, even in the heart or even in the outside edge of the tree, take stain differently because they have different densities. So we're always staining pieces of wood and having the light parts of the wood turn dark and the dark parts of the wood turn light, or remain as dark as they are, therefore the light parts bypassing them. Anyway, never liked it. Never saw the point in it. We used to be able to skip this coat, but to what end? It didn't work out. The color was never right. So here we are. This has been done. I have to wait for it to dry, and I have to sand it all. But the truth is, this is going to sand so much better. The product is going to be so much better having been sealed and sanded, that I found, at least as now I'm an old man, that it's just better. I can get a better finish. And I had people come look at my stuff and rub their hands on it and say, "My God, I've never felt anything like that." It's because I'm just taking the time to put a coat of varnish and a coat of shellac on. I guess, I've never done it, but I say you can do the same kind of thing with lacquer. The lacquer will seal the wood also. And I've never done it. I have brushing lacquer. It's not that I only have spray lacquer, but I've never done that. Anyway, I'm going to let this dry. Tomorrow it'll be all done, and it'll be stiff. It'll stiffen the fibers. Be able to go across it with probably 180 sandpaper, and it will be smooth, and will take the next coat very uniformly. You're going to like it. See you then. We'll get this done. Make a frame. I wonder what I'm going to do next. Got to think of something to do. Maybe I'll clean up. Yeah. Never happened. Too many fun things to do. We'll see you. Okay. So, if you recall, another day. These things, I shellac these, clear shellac, and they sanded them with 220 grit sandpaper. Came out real well. Just real well. Like it a lot. Now, I said that was the trick, the thing that I'm looking for, my big program here, is to get these things into the red tones. I want this to look like red. I've got some red aniline dye, and I've got some shellac, some clear shellac you can't see in, but okay, maybe you can. Clear shellac, the cup is clean because I poured it from another cup. All right, so I'm going to tint some of this. I'd said that I was going to put this together and then start the red process, but I'm not. And just in case something goes awry, I can sand a lot better this way than if I got the miter together into a frame. So I'm going to start the process. I'm going to put a little bit of red in this, and then I'm going to mop a coat on, and we're going to see how we do. The thing about these dyes, they're quick. They don't take much, and they'll, all over your hands. This is a red, mahogany red. I have mostly just red dyes. That's one drop. I'm going to put in 2. That's where I am going. It should not take more than that. I need to stir this. Give it a little stir. If you can imagine. It's even littler now. And they have that. Whoa. 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 Ah, that's red. But it's going to be a thin coat. It won't, Right now it looks like it bled into it, but it's not going to look that way. All right. So, enough of that. Let's mop a coat on. Oh, Jesus, I just did that. All right, got it. I hope you can see where we're going with this thing. It's going to take a couple of coats, but you know the drill. You're better off doing that than deciding that you can get it done in one and wished you hadn't. Oh my goodness, I'm spreading this stuff around with my hand because I'm dirty. Okay, all right, stop doing that. I'm going to take a moment and put another drop in this thing and mix that in because this isn't enough. And that's about as far as I dare to go in one setting. Tomorrow we'll do it again. I mean, it's as simple as that. Don't know what the stuff is soluble in. I know that it's soluble in alcohol. So that's what I'm doing. Get it all over my hands, and every time I touch this thing, I make a mess. Cool. All right, so I'm going to recoat this area. Losing bristles. This will be great. Yes, this is more like what I'm looking for. Probably, do the same thing again tomorrow. Jesus. I should put a glove on. All right, let's get this side. See how it's hanging a little bit in the fillets of the quarter round? I like that. It's a real feature to me. Love it. Love it. Try it again. Well, that's how it starts. It's going to be great. Thanks for watching. It'll get better.